You built you. You run you. Be the CEO of you. This is C.You.O. You run you. Born to build, raised to run, made to
Because if you
lead.
don't do it, who's
This
gonna do it?
is C.You.O. Welcome back to C.You.O. Let's go. Let's grow.
Values or nothing. There are people hitting goals every single day and still feeling disconnected from themselves. The job came, the promotion came, the opportunities came, the responsibilities grew, the image looks successful. But peace never fully arrived. And sometimes that feeling is hard to explain because from the outside, everything still looks like progress. But internally, something feels off. Like your spirit keeps trying to get your attention. Because eventually, when your values and your actions stop speaking the same language, you feel the conflict. Not all exhaustion comes from hard work. Some exhaustion comes from abandoning yourself. Today, we're talking about values, not the polished version people post online, not the version people say out loud because it sounds good. I'm talking about the real values, the ones that guide your decisions when life becomes uncomfortable, the ones that determine what you protect, what you tolerate, what you chase, what you refuse to sacrifice, and who you become under pressure. Because values are not personality traits. Values are direction. Values are the compass underneath your life. And when your goals disconnect from your values, eventually your success starts creating internal conflict instead of peace. This episode is called Values or Nothing because eventually you realize if it costs your identity, it costs too much. Values are the compass. A GPS can only guide you correctly if the destination is honest. Think about that. If your values say peace matters, integrity matters, family matters, purpose matters, growth matters, God matters, but your life is programmed entirely around validation, eventually your emotional system starts recalculating. That is what happens to many people. They build goals around pressure, appearances, comparison, fear of falling behind, proving people wrong, and survival, not around values. So now they are moving fast, but emotionally going nowhere because values are not decoration. Values are direction. Your goals should serve your values. Your mission should protect your values. Your habits should reinforce your values. Otherwise, you start building a life that looks impressive but feels unfamiliar. And that internal disconnect, that emotional friction, that anxiety, sometimes it's not failure. Sometimes your mind and body are reacting to misalignment because no amount of speed fixes the wrong direction. Goals without values create conflict. Goals are powerful, But goals without values create imbalance because goals naturally demand sacrifice, time, energy, attention, and discipline. And if values are not leading the process, goals will slowly start consuming everything around them. That's how people disconnect from their peace, their health, their relationships, their integrity, and their identity while still technically succeeding. And the difficult part is the world often rewards visible achievement. People clap for the outcome, but they cannot hear the conflict happening internally. So people begin negotiating with themselves. I'll slow down later. I'll reconnect later. I'll get back to myself later. And I'll add another one. I have to ride this wave. But later keeps moving. And over time, the distance between who you are and how you are living starts creating emotional exhaustion because you do not lose yourself all at once. You lose yourself in negotiations. Tiny compromises repeated long enough until your standards become optional. One of the hardest things to realize is this. Sometimes the reason you feel emotionally tired is because your life no longer reflects what matters most to you. Let's think about a foundation. People obsess over building wealth, building influence, building status, building success. But nobody talks about foundations. A house can look beautiful on the outside, while the structure underneath it is slowly weakening. At first, the cracks are small, barely noticeable. But eventually, pressure exposes everything. That is exactly how misalignment works. At first, you barely notice it. You start ignoring your instincts, your boundaries, your priorities, your peace, and your standards. Because the goals seem important. Because the opportunity seems important. Because the pressure feels urgent. But every time you ignore your values, you weaken the structure supporting your life. And eventually, the effects begin showing up emotionally. You stop feeling connected. You stop feeling excited. You stop feeling clear. You become tired in ways rest cannot fully repair. Because rest does not repair misalignment. Alignment repairs misalignment. Values, goals, and mission. Your values should determine your goals, and your goals should support your mission. That order matters because when goals come before values, people start chasing things that conflict with who they truly are. And when mission disconnects from identity, success starts feeling empty. Mission gives direction. Goals give targets. But values determine whether the journey still feels honest. That is why two people can achieve the exact same thing and experience it completely differently. One person feels fulfilled. The other feels emotionally disconnected because one built from alignment, the other built from pressure. And eventually, pressure burns people out. But alignment creates sustainability because now your life makes sense internally. Your values align with your mission. Your mission aligns with your actions, and your actions align with who you truly want to become. That's where peace starts showing up again. It makes me think of a train. A train does not leave the tracks all at once. The drift happens first. Small movement, small compromise, small deviation, then miles later, everything feels disconnected. That is how people drift from themselves. Not overnight, through repeated moments of self abandonment, repeated silence, repeated compromise, repeatedly ignoring what they know internally matters. And sometimes the drift is rewarded externally. The opportunities increase, the recognition increases, the responsibilities increase, but internally, peace decreases because success and alignment are not automatically the same thing. Some people are climbing ladders attached to lives that no longer reflect who they truly are. And every level upward increases the disconnect. I'm not saying that you can't be successful or moving upward and not feel connected. I'm bringing those two components together where you're increasing and you're leveling up, and also you're connected to your values. Let's get into how alignment creates momentum. People think momentum comes from motivation, but real momentum comes from alignment. Because when your values and your actions agree, your energy becomes more focused. You stop constantly debating yourself internally. You stop needing endless external validation. You stop feeling emotionally split between who you are and who you are pretending to be. Alignment creates clarity. Clarity creates consistency. Consistency creates momentum. That is why some people can sustain pressure longer than others. Not because life is easier for them, because internally their mission aligns with their values. Their goals align with their identity. Their habits align with what matters most to them. So their energy is not constantly leaking through internal conflict. Your values are currency. Your values are your emotional currency. Every commitment costs something. You chose to stay up all night instead of sleeping. It's going to cost you something. You chose to get into that drama instead of keeping your peace. It's going to cost you something. You chose to stay with someone who doesn't feed you emotionally. It's going to cost you something. You chose to keep that employee instead of lay them off. It's going to cost you something. You chose to be late instead of be on time. It's going to cost you something. You chose to avoid conflict and accept the disrespect, but it's going to cost you something. You chose to be dishonest instead of keeping your integrity. It's going to cost you something. You forgot to trust yourself and you trust someone else. It's going to cost you something. Every environment costs something. Every relationship costs something. Every opportunity costs something. So the question becomes, what are you paying with? Because if every opportunity costs your peace, the price is too high. If every environment requires you to shrink your integrity, the price is too high. If every goal requires you to betray yourself, the price is too high. At some point, you have to stop asking, what can I gain? And start asking, what am I becoming while I gain this? Because identity matters. Peace matters. Alignment matters. So then you start to feel a conflict that most people cannot name. I think many people are carrying emotional conflict they cannot fully explain. Not because they are weak, not because they are lazy, but because internally their life no longer reflects their values. And the mind struggles to feel peace inside contradiction. That is why people feel emotionally scattered, disconnected, frustrated, drained, numb, and unclear, even while functioning, even while producing, even while succeeding, because production is not the same as alignment. And self-leadership requires honesty. The honesty to admit this version of my life no longer reflects who I truly am. That realization is not failure. It is awareness. And awareness gives you the ability to realign. So then return to yourself. Some of you do not need another strategy. You need reconnection. You need to remember what matters to you, what grounds you, what peace feels like to you, what honesty feels like, what kind of leader you truly want to be. Because values stabilize you during pressure. Anybody can feel strong when life is easy. Values reveal themselves when decisions become expensive. That is where identity is formed. Not in comfort, in moments of choice. So this week, identify your top 3 values. Not goals, not dreams, your values. Then audit your life honestly. Look at your schedule, your relationships, your environment, your habits, your emotional state, and ask yourself, does my current life reflect what I claim matters most? Then identify one area where you have drifted from yourself and make one correction immediately. Because every time you realign with your values, you rebuild trust with yourself. Remember this: goals give you targets, mission gives you direction, but values determine whether success still feels like you when you arrive. Keep growing, and I'll see you next time in the boardroom. This is C.You.O. Thank you for tuning in to the C.You.O. podcast, a safe space for you to focus on you. Don't forget to subscribe, join the email list, and follow us on social media for daily encouragement. Remember, showing up for yourself first is the most powerful way to show up for others. Until next time, keep leading, keep growing, and keep choosing you.